Hello readers by eyes and by ears. This is Mari-chan and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all enjoyed yesterday's chapters as we are today moving forward, still reading The Devil Venerable Also Wants to Know, minus the that I put at the beginning. This is also known as 魔尊也想知道 by Cyan Wings or 青色羽翼, and we're covering chapters 24 through 26 today. I hope you all enjoy. Chapter 24, Side by Side. Wenren E's goal with this trip had been to forge a new sword for Yeen Hanjiang, an immortal weapon if possible, or at least a near-immortal weapon. After trading for the meteorite with his token and a promise to help Baili Qingmiao in the future, he took Yeen Hanjiang to the 1,000-mile ice plains. It should now be named the 1,000-mile Fire Plains. The field of boundless white from 11 years ago had been transformed into a sea of magma. Even at Yeen Hanjiang or Wenren E's level, they didn't get too close to the surface, just surveying the landscape from high above. The wandering immortal of the Violet Spirit Pavilion had been cultivating using the flames underneath the ice for centuries, yet was never able to find the snow flame. Yet when Baili Qingmiao collapsed in the ice plains, it instantly appeared in her hands. In order to find that immortal's true body, this venerable broke through the ice layer, and now, without the ice suppressing it, the underground fires have transformed the ice plains environment. Wenren E said. Even though Yeen Hanjiang normally paid attention to nothing besides Wenren E, he couldn't help but ask, why did the spiritual realm change according to Baili Qingmiao's wishes, and the things she imagined actually materialized? Yeen Hanjiang took out the shattered mountain meteorite. He still had difficulty believing that this treasure in his hands was real. What if it suddenly turns into mist and vanishes? Yeen Hanjiang asked. Wenren E saw curiosity sparkling in his eyes and couldn't help but smile slightly. In the beginning, heaven and earth were primordial chaos and everything in existence was formless energy. A primordial god awakened in the chaos and used his power to separate heaven and earth, becoming one with the cosmos and giving rise to all things. This was the one origin from which everything in existence developed. Yeen Hanjiang had reached void boundary stage in over a century of cultivation, and his ability of comprehension was actually quite high. He thought it over and asked, is the Venerable's meaning that the spiritual realm was neither a palace nor a cavern, but a gathering of primordial chaos like the cosmos before the separation of heaven and earth? What we saw today was a smaller scale version of the shaping of the cosmos? Perhaps. Wenren E was unsure of his conjecture himself, and could only give Yeen Hanjiang an indecisive answer. Then how come everything became dark when she opened her eyes and bright when she closed them? It's almost like the legend of the torch dragon who brings day when its eyes are open and night when they close, except it's reversed. Yeen Hanjiang rubbed the meteoric iron, still looking at it with disbelief. He had remained composed in front of Tsong-shoo-eh and Baili Qingmiao, as cold and emotionless as always, but alone in front of Wenren E, he had finally learned to show a bit of curiosity. This venerable does have an idea about that. Wenren E hadn't noticed the indulgent smile that had appeared on his lips. The book stated that Baili Qingmiao was a primordial goddess in her previous life, and managed plagues, disasters, and war. Everywhere her sight landed, disasters would befall mortal beings, so she wouldn't have often looked at peaceful surroundings. If the spiritual realm was a collection of primordial energy that had been attracted to Baili Qingmiao, it would naturally reflect her fate. Dark and hellish when awake, and only paradise in her dreams. The abusive romance novel was the same. It was just as one reviewer said. The author had given the female lead a primordial divine nature, the talent and luck to overturn fate, and impeccable looks and character. They had crafted an exceptional protagonist, then let Wenzhao stomp all over her. Baili Qingmiao could probably only have what she wanted in her dreams. In any case, the Shattered Mountain meteorite is undoubtedly real, and the 7-colored lotus heart will also certainly be able to heal her Wenzhao. Who knows if Baili Qingmiao will have the chance to use it, though? Wenren said. Even though Tsong-shoo-eh was now a wandering immortal, she could still return to Xuanyuan's sect after stealing a few of Shang-Qing's sect's secret techniques. With Tsong-shoo-eh's intellect, she wouldn't have any impact on Shang-Qing's sect even if she stayed, let alone become a mole for the Xuanyuan sect. Wenren had no ambitions to unify the entire cultivation world either, so logically, he should have brought Tsong-shoo-eh back. The reason he let her return to Shang-Qing's sect was that he was curious what kind of changes she would wrought if she stayed by the protagonist's side. Wenren was also quite amused by the way Tsong-shoo-eh went about things. What other cultivator would say something like, "Obviously, a magic elixir ought to be used on me. Who would save a piece of garbage like you?" to her Wenzhao. After Baili Qingmiao had fainted, Tsong-shoo-eh was so concerned she wanted to retrieve her soul immediately, which meant she really was attached to her disciple, even wanting her to become the heir to her ghost cultivation techniques. With such a considerate master by the protagonist's side, Wenren was really looking forward to seeing how the story would diverge. For now, though, he had a more important thing than the story to focus on, namely, to forge Hanjiang's sword. With a bonded weapon, a cultivator could access the weapon's wisdom, and their understanding of the Tao would grow deeper. Wenren hoped that after Hanjiang got his new sword, he could let go of his obsessions and make actual plans toward his future. That way, if Wenren truly died someday as he had in the book, Hanjiang would be able to act rationally and wouldn't become what he had. The trimming blade had its own awareness and sensed that Wenren was going to refine it. It tried to escape as it was drawn from its sheath, but it was trapped by a cloud of blood mist. "Venerable!" Hanjiang cried, not thinking that Wenren would sever one of his own arms. The blood mist that made up that arm snatched the meteoric iron from Hanjiang and began forcing it to combine with the trimming blade. In order to craft a legendary weapon from these fires, human blood and souls must be sacrificed, Wenren said calmly. Demonic cultivators would usually kidnap a nascent soul or above cultivator for their crafts, sealing the soul inside the weapon in order to make an artifact of unparalleled power. Righteous cultivators would, of course, not sacrifice their fellows in order to make weapons, but would capture spiritual beasts. Spiritual beasts were naturally endowed with spiritual power from the heavens, such as Qiling and other beasts of myth. Righteous cultivators would take their inner cores from which they could refine near-immortal weapons. Although there were still some near-death cultivators who would offer themselves to be forged into weapons in order to gain a new lease on life. Wenren wouldn't be using any of those methods. Whether a nascent soul or a beast core, in the end, it was all just spiritual energy, refined into very dense and pure essence through cultivation. Unlike other cultivators, Wenren-E's body was made of merged blood and soul, and he no longer had a nascent soul either. His whole body was filled with very highly refined and pure spiritual essence. A spiritual arm of a Mahayana cultivator was more than sufficient to make up for the entirety of a body unity cultivator's power. Hanjiang wanted to stop Wenren, but he was being held back by a ribbon of blood. He could break free if he used all his strength, but since it was formed from Wenren-E's other arm, he would just be hurting his Venerable more if he struggled. He could only watch as crimson light engulfed the trimming blade and the Shattered Mountain meteorite and dove down into the flames. Wenren began reciting an incantation, and the mist that had been his arm began to rapidly absorb the power of the flames. A deep rumble began underneath the plane of fire as the lava boiled madly, shooting sparks high into the air. The heavens now sensed the creation of a weapon from power stolen from the natural order, and clouds gathered over the sky, heralding a heavenly tribulation. A burst of lava of frightening temperature spewed into the sky like a geyser until it met the clouds above and crashed with the first bolt of lightning repelling it. Within the flash, a pure black sword could be seen, slowly coming into shape. Wenren ordered Hanjiang, "Retrieve your sword." Hanjiang forced back his anguish and charged into the flash. He couldn't let his Venerable's lifeblood be wasted. Meeting the second bolt of lightning, he grabbed hold of the sword, and a current of warm energy flowed from it to his hand. Within the blade, he could sense a will to protect him. The intent to kill and the wish to protect combining into one, both in harmony without any conflict. This was Wenren E's path. When a legendary weapon was forged, it must withstand 9 bolts of heavenly lightning, each stronger than the other. The first 2 were silvery white, but the third one was violet. In order to subdue the weapon, Hanjiang had to take advantage of it when it was weakened by the lightning to make it submit to him while enduring the strikes himself. In the silver-violet flash of the third bolt, Hanjiang's silhouette could faintly be seen, sitting cross-legged in the air as the sword hung before him, letting out a high-pitched hum of resistance. There was nothing else Wenren could do at this point. He remained at a short distance from the lightning, observing Hanjiang. Hanjiang would certainly be able to refine the weapon. Wenren had unwavering faith in him. In the light, a barrier slowly formed around Hanjiang and the sword, protecting both of them. It withstood the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th bolts without trembling. Each of the 9 bolts of heavenly lightning was twice the strength of the previous one. The first one was not hard to endure, but once it came to the 8th or 9th, the power involved was already enough to destroy the 1,000-mile ice plains. With the 8th bolt of lightning, a crack ran through the barrier around Hanjiang. The lava of the ice plains churned, and the temperature even high up in the air rose to a hellish degree. If a chunk of ordinary iron was tossed up, it would have melted in midair to vanish into the sea of flame below without a trace. In order to destroy this new immortal weapon, thunderclouds gathered from 100 li around, now glowing violet, gathering power for the 9th strike. There was no way Hanjiang's barrier would be able to withstand this one. If he could not subdue the sword before then, they would both be reduced to ash by the bolt of violet light. Hanjiang did all he could to communicate with the sword, asking it to become his. He conveyed his good intent to it, his intent to protect his Venerable, but the sword disregarded him. It only wanted to charge out of the barrier and escape the control of heaven. Why was it unwilling to submit to him? The sword was forged from Wenren E's own blood and soul and had inherited a portion of his path of slaughter. When Hanjiang told it he wished to protect Wenren E, why did it not obey? Hanjiang couldn't figure it out, and meanwhile, the barrier couldn't even withstand the pressure of the next bolt of lightning and shattered completely, leaving Hanjiang and the disobedient sword undefended under the storm clouds. He had no control over the sword, which wanted to charge toward the clouds and clash head-on with the heavenly lightning. Hanjiang grabbed the sword and managed to force it down. The will of the sword flooded his mind. He heard it chant endlessly, "Battle! Battle!" It wanted to battle. The fighting intent led Hanjiang to remember a scene at the border town, when he was 18, watching from a distance as his Venerable, with all his cultivation suppressed, led his troops into the bloodbath of battle like a mortal man. Wenren E disregarded his own safety with every attack, and even if a spear pierced his shoulder, his halberd would never slow. Hanjiang naively stood before his Venerable, wanting to be his sword, wanting to protect him. But Wenren E wielded a halberd. He had said to Hanjiang, "This Venerable doesn't need you to protect him." What meaning was there in Hanjiang's life, aside from protecting his Venerable? The ninth bolt of lightning became a violet dragon, roaring and coiling around Hanjiang. As Wenren watched, he raised the hand slightly, but eventually lowered it again. If he were to help, Hanjiang would never be able to overcome his inner demons. Wenren had said before that he didn't mind Hanjiang dying for him, but he did mind Hanjiang losing his mind over him. The Lord of Demons had witnessed death many times, and neither his death nor his subordinates' deaths mattered to him. He only wanted to die when he chose, after expending all his strength and leaving behind no regrets. He hoped Hanjiang would understand that what he wanted wasn't an obedient puppet and a blindly loyal subordinate. He needed a vanguard who would charge with him into the enemy's ranks, a sharp blade who would cut down all opposition. Hanjiang, will you be able to understand? The violet lightning had already completely engulfed Hanjiang. Wenren saw his silhouette vanish and wondered if this was as far as he could come. Suddenly, a metallic sound rang out from within the lightning, and a sword flash slashed through it, surging toward the heavens, charging into the storm, and resembling a black dragon that thrashed within the clouds. After a flurry of other sword flashes, the storm clouds dissipated. Hanjiang's clothes were tattered, and he held a sword in one hand. Raised toward the clouds, it had cleaved in one strike. Its blade, hilt, and tassel were all pure black, blade sparkling with points of light like stars. Wenren heard Hanjiang say in a low voice, "Your name is the army-crushing sword." Alcade shone brilliantly in the night sky overhead. The army-crushing sword hummed ceaselessly, and when Wenren summoned his 7-killing halberd, it began shaking of its own accord. It was out of happiness. Happiness that a weapon which understood it completely had been born. Happiness that there was finally a companion that could advance side by side with it and surmount the heavens. There were no shortcuts on the road of cultivation. If they had made it their resolution to rebel against heaven, then they must abandon their human bodies and become gods. On this path, no one needed a protector. They would only need to face battle, to use their own power to cut open the path of heaven. Hanjiang slowly flew back to Wenren side, his eyes unreadable. He didn't kneel, instead facing Wenren directly and saying in a clear voice, "Hanjiang understands. No longer this subordinate, just Hanjiang." Wenren laughed out loud in joy, and the 7-killing halberd touched its blade to the army-crushing sword, humming non-stop. Wenren said, pleased, "This Venerable is glad to have another person in the world who can fight alongside him." Hanjiang also smiled faintly. He had finally managed to live up to his Venerable's wishes. Upon subduing the army-crushing sword, he had completed his own sword will. Wenren didn't need Hanjiang to protect him. Wenren needed someone who could stand back to back with him, wielding a weapon alongside him, as they charged down the path of defying heaven, slaying even gods and Buddhas in their way. Wenren released the 7-killing halberd and let it and the sword start fighting and clashing each other. He faced Hanjiang and gripped his hand in his. With both their hands wrapped into a fist, an unspoken oath was formed in their eyes. They looked up at the sky together, seeing Polis and Alcade mirror each other in brilliance, both shining with greater strength than ever before. However, Dub-He was also radiant, nearly drowning out Polis and Alcade's light. Wenren shared a glance with Hanjiang. What had happened to Shu Yanyan that her fortunes had increased too? Speaking of, since the Great Sect War, he had now been missing from Xuanyuan's sect for a whole year. Who knew what state it was in now? Chapter 25. Insubordination. Wenren had originally planned to go right out and kidnap Zhongli Qian after finishing the sword, but seeing Dub-He shining in the sky, he was abruptly reminded that he had a sect to run. Yuan's sect has sustained heavy losses from the Great Sect War, with many experts having died and being sent on. Out of the 4 Alter Masters, 3 were severely injured, and the 4th had run off to Shangqing's sect to become a wandering immortal. With the left protector and the sect master missing, the only person who was still capable would have been the right protector. Speaking of which, even if this Venerable captured Zhongli Qian, I still need a place to imprison him, Wenren said. The right protector knows more on matters of love than we do, so the matter of making Zhongli Qian love Baili Qingmiao must be assigned to her. Now that he'd obtained his sword, Hanjiang recognized that he wasn't supposed to be the Venerable's yes-man, but help him and ease his burdens. He thought about it hard and said, "The right protector has high ambitions. The Yuan sect is currently without a leader, so I fear it has fallen into chaos." "It looks to me like she's living large right now," Wenren said, glancing at Dubhe overhead. "Oh well, there's still several decades until Baili Qingmiao and Zhongli Qian are meant to meet. We have plenty of time, so let's return to Yuan sect and sort things out first." "Understood," said Hanjiang. Before they departed, Wenren glanced down at the ice plains, whose flames had all but dissipated after that last lightning strike. Originally, the flames would be covered by ice again after 100 years or so, forming a new ice plains. But now the strikes of heavenly lightning had expended much of the underground fire's power. Mountains had been pulverized into dirt, slowly burying the fading flames. The lightning had filled the land with immense spiritual energy, enough to give rise to new living beings. Soon, the land beneath them would be transformed into a vast grass plain. With only a glance, Wenren left in a flash of crimson light, paying it no more mind. Hanjiang flew on the army-crushing sword and caught up to him. Wenren had held back his speed for him, but Hanjiang's sword flight had become significantly faster. Wenren, seeing that Hanjiang kept up easily, sped up some more. Hanjiang urged his sword on and was still able to follow at a steady pace an arm's length behind Wenren. It was only until Wenren reached twice his original speed that Hanjiang started falling behind. It had taken them half a day to arrive at the ice plains, but this time it only took an hour to return to the outskirts of Yuan's sect. Wenren didn't arrive directly to the main hall, instead stopping outside. Pleased, he said to Hanjiang, "You finally understood the true meaning of sword flight, as opposed to letting swords fly you." Hanjiang's speed had always been slow, not only because of his low level, but also because the demonic sword didn't obey his will. He was always distracted with keeping it under control, which slowed him down. Sword cultivators are strong among all cultivators. Previously, you were able to exert power beyond your realm because the demonic sword was using you, not due to your own strength or sword will. Now that you've bonded to a weapon of your own, this Venerable looks forward to seeing your true strength as a sword cultivator. Wenren looked at Hanjiang with encouragement. Hanjiang, however, only looked at Wenren's missing arm, which had yet to regrow, his face rather pale. "Don't worry." Wenren covered his shoulder with one hand. "Since I cut off a part of my soul, it'll naturally take a while to recover. A minor injury like this won't prevent this Venerable from taking back the Yuan sect." Hanjiang gripped his sword tightly, determined not to let the blade his Venerable had forged with his own soul go to waste. He cupped his hands and said, "The sect array has been completely changed from before. This subordinate will break through and open a path for the Venerable." "That's not necessary," Wenren said, holding back Hanjiang's fighting intent. "I'd like to see what Yeen has gotten up to these days. If we barged in directly, someone as shrewd as her would surrender immediately, which wouldn't be fun." Wenren used an illusion to hide them both after making a circuit around the barrier, finding some people entering and leaving. They were all strangers, and who knew where they had come from? Wenren possessed one of them and entered with the group, quickly learning the new array password. he quietly left that body and returned to the outside, where he opened a small entrance and beckoned Yeen Hanjiang through. Xuanyuan's sect had no regulations forbidding flight or duels within its grounds. Everyone picked fights whenever they wanted, and whoever was stronger got their way. Wenren E and Yeen Hanjiang went directly to Shu Yanyan's cultivation grounds, a mountain peak dense in spiritual energy on which she had built a palace resembling that of a mortal emperor. Its inside was filled with beds, hot springs, grass fields, and so on, so Shu Yanyan could cultivate wherever she pleased. When she wasn't carrying out orders or out looking for new subordinates to raise, Shu Yanyan spent most of her time cultivating in her palace. But today, not only was she nowhere to be seen, but not many of her subordinates were around either. Wenren E and Yeen Hanjiang entered the palace and found most of the rooms were empty, with even the beds missing. Hearing someone approach, they both hid and saw Shu Yanyan's most favored subordinate leading a few underlings with both middling cultivations and looks, directing them. You two go to the moon-embracing hall, you three to the star-plucking hall, and put everything in storage bags. Make sure you're careful with the right protector's bed. You better not knock or bump them. If the protector were to get injured in cultivation, the fault would be on your heads. He ordered everyone around left and right while sitting in the main hall like he owned the place, eating from a plate stacked with spiritual fruit. Yeen Hanjiang saw this clearly and knew there was only one tree in the sect that bore spiritual fruit, which grew in the Venerable's back garden. He wanted to charge in, but was held back by Wenren E. While everyone else was busy moving furniture, Wenren E transformed into blood mist and entered the body of Shu Yanyan's subordinate. He said to Yeen Hanjiang, "Disguise yourself, and let's go have a chat with the right protector." Yeen Hanjiang considered using a disguising technique, but Shu Yanyan was a high-level cultivator and would be able to see through it easily. He was worried he would ruin the Venerable's plan, and so took a black ghost mask from his storage bag and put it on. Wenren E's heart skipped a beat when he saw that mask. He was about to ask when he saw several of the subordinates returning. "Master Hulian," they said to him, "we've already cleared out everything." Wenren E held back his questions and replied, "Come on." He glanced at the masked Yeen Hanjiang and said, "You too." Several of the men shot suspicious glances at Yeen Hanjiang. Wenren E said in a harsher voice, "What are you looking at? The protector's new disciple doesn't want to be seen. Keep your heads down." There were some people who weren't willing to show their faces when Shu Yanyan first brought them in. The underlings didn't dare to question any further and hurried to follow Master Hulian as they flew toward the main peak where Wenren E's residence was. They ran into Shu Yanyan right in the sect's main hall, wearing a set of lavish red robes and currently talking to another subordinate. They were in time to hear him say, "My lady, the 4 Alter Masters have all been brought to the main peak. What should be done with them?" Shu Yanyan considered for a moment, then smiled and said, "Let's see. Alter Master Yuan is too ugly. I don't know why he likes to walk around with all that fat. I don't like him, so seal his powers and throw him in the water prison. Alter Master Miao doesn't look bad, but who knows if he's keeping 1 or 2 of his bugs around for emergencies. I don't want to get bitten, so throw him in the water prison too. As for Alter Master Yuan and that new Alter Master Shi, take them to my room for me to enjoy thoroughly." "Understood," her subordinate said, nodding. "Oh, wait," Shu Yanyan called. She held him by the chin and kissed his handsome face, saying in a soft voice, "I forgot I'm currently moving out. Take them to Wenren E's bedroom and stay there yourself too. In a moment, this protector, no, this Venerable will take good care of you." Hearing that she wanted to use the Venerable's bedrooms for such things, Yeen Hanjiang couldn't hold back anymore and drew his sword, charging at Shu Yanyan. Shu Yanyan's red robe was a top... I'm sorry. Shu Yanyan's red robe was a top-grade defensive item, So she disregarded the masked man who suddenly appeared, assuming he was one of the Alter Master's underlings. She raised the sleeve to block, but the blade cleaved through the robe and her arm alike. "Who are you?" Yanyan demanded, furious, as a spider lily bloomed in the palm of her hand. Her subordinate rushed to pick up her severed arm, which she could reattach after she was done fighting. "That's a strong sword will. Are you from Heavenly Sword Sect? How did you get into the Xuanyuan sect main hall?" Yanyan circulated her spiritual essence, and spider lilies blossomed across the hall, forming a blood-red carpet under Hanjiang's feet. They transformed into 12 heavenly demons, who seductively approached him. The heavenly demons could awaken someone's inner demons and destroy a cultivator's dantian. If one let their guard down for even a moment, they would fall under the demon's manipulations. Hanjiang treated their alluring figures as no more than clumps of dirt. He paid attention only to Yanyan, his current enemy. The stars of the Big Dipper shone on the army-crushing sword's blade. Its black light filled the hall, and the 12 heavenly demons were instantly nailed to the walls, the spider lilies shredded by the sword's aura and their petals drifting through the air in a flurry of crimson. Yanyan saw her adversary face the heavenly demons without wavering and decided to bring out her full power. After fully absorbing Wenzhao's nascent soul, she had risen to the 5th level of Mahayana and could freely command this natural spiritual energy. With a wave of her hand, the flower petals transformed into red silk, which wrapped around Hanjiang's body and immobilized him. The spider lilies were demonic flowers which would suck away the spiritual essence of anyone they touched. Hanjiang had been plastered with them head to toe, and his essence was continuously being drained. Wenren sighed inwardly. Even if Hanjiang had awoken to his own sword will, there was still a realm of difference between Void Boundary and Mahayana. It seemed his help was still needed. Right when Wenren was about to jump in, the 12 swords that had pinned the heavenly demons to the wall flew to Hanjiang, forming a sword array around him, ringing in unison and making the flower petals tremble. Within them, Hanjiang had made a hand seal, and the sword split into innumerable small blades, blasting the flowers away with his aura. The masked man leapt out of the flower petals, the tip of his blade aimed for Yanyan's heart. Yanyan didn't have enough time to avoid, and even though she dodged a vital blow, the sword still impaled her through her left shoulder. Gritting her teeth, she said to her subordinate, "What are you waiting for? Set up an array!" Yet a cloud of blood mist suddenly emerged from Hulian's body and solidified into the shape of a one-armed figure standing behind the masked man. Calmly, he said to Yanyan, "Right Protector, did you have any problems managing the sect in this Venerable's absence?" Seeing he had shown himself, the other also removed his mask, revealing Hanjiang's frosty expression. Upon seeing the two, Yanyan fell to her knees on the spot. "Venerable, you've returned at last!" she cried. "The 4 Alter Masters were conspiring together, and with only great difficulty did the subordinate manage to bring them in line." Chapter 26. Tidying Up the Sect. Well, start explaining. In Xuanyuan sect's main hall, a black-robed man with one arm sat in the highest seat, his bodyguard holding a sword and standing at his left side. Several rows of people knelt below him, with the 4 Alter Masters and 1 sect protector in the front line and their subordinates behind them. Each of them had distanced themselves from the other 4, the lines in the sand clearly drawn. Hearing the black-robed man's command, a tremble went through all 5, but none dared to speak first. "This Venerable isn't mad at you," Wenren said, his remaining hand resting on the arm of the chair as he surveyed them languidly. He continued at an easy pace. "This Venerable is just curious. How were 2 cultivators at the 7th level of Mahayana and 2 cultivators at the last level of Void Boundary all subdued by an average sect protector at the 5th level of Mahayana?" Seeing that still no one dared to talk, Wenren continued. Seeing as it's been over 100 years, you should understand this Venerable by now. I don't mind if my subordinates are disloyal. Xinye sect is a demonic sect, open to all paths of cultivation, and everyone has always done as they please. I don't care if you cultivate goo parasites, seduction, ghosts, tortoiseshells, or the pursuit of power. All your pathetic ambitions can coexist in this sect. Okay. The only thing that can't be permitted is incompetence. Hearing this, Yanyan perked up. She still knelt as properly as ever, but her back straightened a bit. However you told it, she had come out ahead of everyone else at the end of this struggle, so she could be considered the most competent, much more so than the four kneeling beside her. Seeing her straighten up, Wenren said, Protector Shu, you seem to have something to say. Venerable, Yanyan said, loud and clearly. From the beginning, this matter can't be considered this subordinate's fault. Your subordinate only wished to stop the infighting caused by the Alter Masters. Venerable, you've given the order before that when you aren't here, your protector can be your deputies. When I saw the Alter Masters fighting amongst themselves, imagine how disappointed I was. How could I not stop them? And as for bringing Alter Masters Ren and Shi to my rooms, Venerable, you understand the subordinate. How could I not keep a little bonus for myself? Wenren nodded in satisfaction and said to Yeen Hanjiang, Remember what I said, Protector Yeen. If we had charged straight into Xinye's sect, Protector Shu would have deferred to me immediately, and we wouldn't get this show. Yeen Hanjiang had never seen Wenren so mischievous before and smiled inwardly, though he kept his face emotionless and said, The Venerable is right. Shu Yanyan's bluff faltered at his words, and she could only try to change the subject. Well, about this, you should probably ask Alter Master Ren. If he hadn't supported Alter Master Shi in getting his position so they could join forces against Alter Master Miao, how could someone like me, who had also risen to Mahayana with average abilities and some seduction and charms, take out all four of the others? Shu Yanyan, you watch your fucking mouth! Alter Master Ren exploded. He slammed a hand onto the floorboards. I backed Alter Master Shi? Why don't you say that one more time? Who exactly backed him? I must have been blind to work with the backstabbing pretty boy. When I get the chance, I'll fuck him dead. I can't. Alter Master Shi was a pale and sickly-looking young man who looked like a scrawny intellectual type. Hearing Alter Master Yuan, he put a hand to his mouth and after coughing a few times said weakly, Alter Master Yuan, I cannot accept being called a backstabber. I never planned on working with you from the start. You're the one who ran to me and started yapping about how you needed to teach Alter Master Miao a lesson and needed to borrow my sickness chi in order to weaken his bugs. Faced with something like that, how could I not discuss with Alter Master Yuan in the Venerable's place? After Alter Master Shi had finished talking, Alter Master Miao raised his soft voice. You still ended up going along with Alter Master Yuan's plan afterward. You made all my bugs sick and let Alter Master Yuan smash me with his hammer over 1,000 times. Alter Master Shi coughed until a tinge of blood appeared on his pale face. He said readily, Didn't Alter Master Yuan fall sick too? I was just following Alter Master Yuan's plan. He said in order to stop you two from destroying the unity of Xinye's sect, the best way was to let you cool your heads for a bit. The rotund Alter Master Yuan also had to cut in at this point. Squinting his eyes, he said, But Alter Master Shi, you weren't supposed to tell them that I told you to do it. And you weren't supposed to let Alter Master Miao have the opportunity to have his bugs bite me. So what if they bite you? Said Alter Master Miao. If I hadn't been hit by some idiot 1,000 times and low on spiritual energy, I would have used all that fat on you to raise a new nest of bugs. With your spiritual energy, I could probably grow a king parasite. Alter Master Yuan, why don't you mention how you used your techniques on me to force me to sicken them? Said Alter Master Shi. You're the one who secretly appointed me to the position of Alter Master, and also made a private agreement with me that since Wenren was dead, when you became sect master, I would be a sect protector. You also said that you stole a piece of my soul that you placed into a tablet, and that if you shattered it, my soul would be damaged and I would never be able to reach Mahayana. I had to work with Alter Master Miao in order to get the tablet back, out of self-defense. You see, Venerable, said Shu Yanyan, is any of this my fault? She pointed a slim jade finger at the other four, her face full of innocence. By the time I arrived, Alter Master Miao had been smashed into a pancake. Alter Master Shi was trying to take Alter Master Yuan's soul to refine it. Alter Master Zhen was hugging his tortoiseshell and cursing out Alter Master Shi, hitting him while coughing blood. As an acting sect master, how could I let them behave in such a manner in the main hall? Naturally, I had to punish them all equally and make sure they were all disciplined. Wenren nodded slowly. Protector Shu's words are reasonable, but this Venerable must still request Protector Shu remove the 100-meter-long bed from his quarters and burn it. This Venerable doesn't generally need such a large bed. Shu Yanyan's face stiffened, and her back sank again. She said in a fearful voice, Venerable, that's the 1,000-year frost jade bed. It took me many decades to collect the materials to make it. I can't burn it. Then smash it, Wenren said indifferently. Do it personally, and take it out in pieces while this Venerable watches. Understood. Shu Yanyan didn't dare to speak more. Her severed arm was still lying by her feet, and she still hadn't worked up the courage to reattach it yet. Now that the Venerable had started assigning punishments to them in turn, the Alter Masters also zipped their lips, no longer daring to squabble amongst each other, waiting for Wenren-E's verdict. Protector Yeen, what would you say they're all guilty of? Wenren said, turning to Yeen Hanjiang instead. After hearing that these people hadn't rushed to find their injured lord and instead started making grabs for power, Yeen Hanjiang was already burning with rage. He responded decisively. Right Protector Shu Yanyan showed arrogance beyond belief, taking over the Venerable's residence and framing herself as Venerable. She ought to have her cultivation grounds leveled, her subordinates dismissed, her mouth sealed, and be forced to practice asceticism for 100 years. That's too harsh, Shu Yanyan cried, her head whipping up to look at Yeen Hanjiang. She couldn't help but feel he was a bit different to how he was in the past. Yeen Hanjiang ignored her and continued. When it comes to the Alter Masters, as the Venerable has said, their greatest crime is not insubordination, but incompetence. Seeing as how they were so focused on their internal strife that Protector Shu could overpower them all in one fell swoop, they are clearly unfit for their positions. However, Alter Master Zhen single-handedly incapacitating Alter Masters Miao and Shi is somewhat commendable, and may merit a lighter punishment. Wenren was a bit surprised. He glanced at Yeen Hanjiang and said, This Venerable had assumed you had no opinions on anyone other than I. I didn't know you got along with Alter Master Zhen. Yeen Hanjiang pursed his lips and didn't reply. He and Alter Master Zhen hardly got along. It was merely that they had fought side by side in the Great Sect War. Then let it be as Protector Yeen has said, Wenren said, tapping his fingers on the arm of the chair. Since Shu Yanyan's mouth could still be of use, Wenren didn't seal her speech, but ordered her to smash all her beds personally and burn her grandiose rooms within her palace. He also reassigned all her subordinates to run errands at the main hall, and got Alter Master Miao to plant a goo insect in each of them, so that if they felt any desire for Shu Yanyan, Alter Master Miao would know instantly. As for the 4 Alter Masters, Wenren decided that the incompetent should be judged by the incompetent and let them all decide punishments for each other, and have the results reported to him later. Seeing as Yeen Hanjiang had vouched for Alter Master Zhen, he let him off the hook. In a short day, Wenren had tidied up the Xuanyuan sect, put everyone in their places, and ensured everyone's loyalty once again. After observing 3 of the Alter Masters release insects and sickness chi and so on upon each other for a bit, Wenren got bored and returned to his quarters with Yeen Hanjiang. Yanyan had already tearfully smashed up the bed that was placed there and cast all the pieces into the mortal world, which would form a rich jade mine in a few hundred years. She swore that the bed had just been moved in, and she hadn't had the chance to do anything on it yet. Her face had been filled with regret while saying this, regret that she hadn't taken the chance to properly enjoy it before Wenren returned. Upon entering, Yeen Hanjiang was hit by a faceful of Shu Yanyan's perfume, which had been on the bed. He scowled, unsheathing his sword, and the force of its swing swept through the entire room, clearing out the scent. "No need to go to so much trouble," Wenren said. "I'll just have Shu Yanyan personally renovate this place." "She's not necessary," Yeen Hanjiang said, fuming. "This subordinate will do it." Instead of preventing him, Wenren began inquiring on his experiences with Alter Master Ruan. Yeen Hanjiang went over the full account, even including the exact insults Alter Master Ruan had hurled at him. Wenren raised an eyebrow and said, "Oh, I didn't know Alter Master Ruan had these preferences. I suppose we must satisfy him." "Satisfy him?" Yeen Hanjiang yelped, his voice hoarse. "Satisfy him how?" Wenren saw his shock and quickly said, "Doesn't he want to fuck grandmas? This Venerable would like to pick a maggot-filled corpse among..." This Venerable would like to pick a maggot-filled corpse from among Tsong-shoo's ghost cultivators for him and see just how much he likes it. Yeen Hanjiang relaxed upon hearing this. "Alter Master Ruan has a sharp tongue, is all," he said quietly. "And this Venerable is going to scare him a little," Wenren said. "My order that the sect protector should represent me when I'm absent is aimed at you. In the Great Sect War, you didn't just save this Venerable, but changed the course of the entire battle. It was Ren Wei's duty to help you, so there's no need to feel gratitude. This Venerable simply wants him to know that he can't say whatever he wants just to anyone." Okay. Hearing Wenren back him, Yeen Hanjiang felt a faint warmth in his heart. He stood behind Wenren watching him vent on his behalf. Tsong-shoo's ghost cultivators had been taken in by Alter Master Shi, and when he heard he could personally pick one as Alter Master Ruan's punishment, he half coughed, half proclaimed that he would of course put every care into picking a suitable dual cultivation partner, and even went to Shu Yanyan to borrow a manual. The corporeal ghost cultivators under his command, hearing that they could dual cultivate with Alter Master Ruan, put their names down one after another, and enthusiasm was sky high. Yeen Hanjiang, ... He felt like Alter Master Shi's subordinates wouldn't leave it at just scaring him. Wenren was pleased upon seeing that the members of Xuanyuan's sect had returned to their usual semblance of peace, and were focusing their energies internally instead of going around causing trouble in the mortal realm. He returned to his room in order to focus on his readings. The book he was reading was, of course, abusive romance. It had been about a month since they and Baili Qingmiao had parted, and even with Tsong-shoo delaying the journey, they should have returned to Shangqing's sect by now. He was interested to see how Wenzhao was doing, and whether or not he'd restored his nascent soul. As expected, the revisions had continued, recording from Baili Qingmiao's perspective the entire sequence of events from when she had left her sect up through the treasure hunt in the spiritual realm. The discussion page was practically heated this time, even longer than it had been in the original work. Hold on. Hold your horses. What did Baili Qingmiao Sr. say his name was? Wenren E? How come my badass second male lead is now Baili Qingmiao Sr.? Honestly, at that black-robed senior's debut, when he gave Baili Qingmiao the flame-feathered cloak and told her to go to the 1,000-mile ice plains, He hadn't gotten any in-depth description, so I assumed he was an old man. He is an old man. Wenren is 3,000 years old. He's just got a pretty face. Age doesn't matter to cultivators. The Violet Spirit Master was over 1,000, but Wenzhao still married her. 300 years is still pretty young in the cultivation world, okay? If the black-robed senior is Wenren, then is the person who was always with him, who was given the snowflame Yeen Hanjiang? Oh God, the trauma. Someone light a lamp for me. In the revision, didn't Wenren say he was giving the Shattered Mountain meteorite to Yeen Hanjiang as a sword material? Hold on, let me see. Wenren helped Baili Qingmiao retrieve the snowflame for Yeen Hanjiang. He obtained the Shattered Mountain meteorite for Yeen Hanjiang, and he gave MC his token for Yeen Hanjiang. Guys, I think I've discovered something big. What's inspired the author lately? Baili Qingmiao and Wenren's plot lines were all given to Yeen Hanjiang, and Wenren being saved by the MC was given to some elder Qingxue who came out of nowhere and clearly has something wrong with her head. Speaking of Qingxue, I actually quite like her. She's taking care of the MC all along and gives no shits about Wenzhao. With her there to protect Baili Qingmiao, the later plotline where Wenzhao gets married and imprisons Baili Qingmiao should also change, right? But the imprisonment plotline was her meeting with Zhongli Qian. If Elder Qingxue protects Baili Qingmiao, then how will Zhongli Qian get his debut? My young master Zhongli, you're my number one. Sob. Oh no. I'm getting more and more excited to read. The author hasn't continued after Baili Qingmiao returning to the sect. We don't know if he slept with Liu Shimei. If he has, well, I'm looking forward to Elder Qingxue. Also looking forward to Elder Qingxue plus 10,086. That method of killing Wenzhao and waiting for his reincarnation to grow up was wild. I stand Qingxu. The story had only gotten to Baili Qingmiao and Chu Tongshue's returning to Shangqing sect. Wenren closed the book and started considering how he should capture Zhongli Qian. Call in the right protector. I have a way for her to lighten her punishment, Wenren said. All right, everyone, that concludes the reading for today. Sorry I was not able to read one more chapter. Things are a bit busy. But let's go ahead and go over my notes, which I only have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first thing that I want to say is, oh my gosh, every time the story explains how their cultivation world works, oh, I get so excited. So we have it basically explaining, taking spiritual essence from beasts, at least how the righteous cultivators do that. And I got super hype because it reminded me of Doluo Continent, which is a sea drama, or the Donghua version is called Soul Land, which, by the way, I totally recommend you guys watch both of them. Doluo Continent has Xiaojian as the main character, and he's excellent, of course. And then Soul Land, it has 262 episodes. I think the last 2 are just the culmination of the final episodes put together in one. But anyway, they are so good. And honestly, I think I mentioned this during my live. I'm sorry to stray just for a moment, but Soul Land is literally my all-time favorite donghua. And I'll even put it up there and say it is one of my all-time favorite just anime areas, period. Oh my God, please watch it. I watched it on iQIYI. And I watched Doluo Continent on Viki Rakuten. Anyway, let's move forward. The point is, I liked how they explained that, and having seen those two things, it gave me a more visual understanding. So that's why I wanted to mention those two things. Anyway, my next point, I'm so glad that Yeen Hanjiang finally understands what Wenren wants. Because as I said in the last live, I didn't want him to continue being a puppet. And of course, Wenren didn't want him to continue being a puppet either. And it's nice that he knows that now. Wenren wants someone to stand beside him, not someone to stand in front of him to try to protect him. And I'm just so happy, like, yay, because I was going to be mad if there was no depth added to Yeen Hanjiang when he clearly has some. Like, he does. And we got to see that, even with him giving his opinions about how people should be punished, yada, yada, yada. And even when Ren was like, oh, I didn't know you had this side. But clearly he was satisfied with it because he was like, okay, we're going to do what you say. Yeah, let's go. But seriously, I definitely enjoyed him going through those lightning strikes and just the moment of him forging his sword, and even Wenren being happy for him, and the sword being happy, the 7 killing halberd. Yes. And then when the 2 swords were starting to fight with each other, I was like, oh, my heart. So my next point. I love the fact that Wenren was not upset by anyone's betrayal. Him looking at Yanyan and even telling her, which is kind of crazy that she still doesn't know this about him, but he was just like, you're just doing what a demonic cultivator would do. And you essentially were competent enough to do it, or at least because everyone else was distracted and being incompetent, you were able to take over. And had I been dead, this would have worked out successfully for you, but here I am. Go burn that bed. So that was nice. And then next, y'all, every time Alter Master Ruan opens his mouth, why is he always trying to fuck somebody? Also, it's just so funny. I need to see what he looks like. Like, I need to see a drawing of him because I want to know if he's even good looking enough to be saying, fuck your grandmother. No, I'll fuck you dead. I'll fuck him dead. I'm just like, what? So anyway, and then my final note was about Wenren basically saying, like, get your mouth off of Yeen Hanjiang. With the whole punishment for Alter Master Ruan, which is funny because at first he was going to let him off the hook. That's what it said. But upon hearing the things that he said to Yeen Hanjiang, he was like, well, since he wants to fuck grandmas, let's give him one and make sure it's rotten and maggot filled. So I enjoyed these chapters very much, and I look forward to the next I think it'll be about 6 chapters that I read for Monday. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy your weekend. I will definitely enjoy mine. Please leave your thoughts and reactions in the comment section. And, oh, yes, please be on the lookout for a post or maybe a short, I don't know, about the upcoming Patreon as we get closer and closer to that launching. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Well, 아니면